Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to the Borderline podcast with me, your host, Andrew Willox, and welcome to episode 1 of Under the Waves, which, if you follow me on Instagram at Andrew's Anxiety Adventures, you'll know what it's a little bit about already. For those of you that don't follow me across there, you should, or else a lot of stuff on here isn't going to make a lot of sense to you. I put a post up earlier saying that I'm going to start doing a little mini series. Sharks are one of my massive passions, and I really want to do little episodes like this because it's really good for me just to be able to concentrate on something and not really have to go out and get the information for. It's a subject that I know a lot about. It's a subject that I absolutely love speaking about as well. For anybody that knows me, you're probably sick of me talking about sharks. And yeah, so I just think it's really good for me personally to go ahead and do episodes like these. It's kind of like a pressure off episode, so to speak, which is a roundabout way of kind of a little bit of an upset, which I'll speak about it probably in a little episode if I get the chance to do another one after this one or tomorrow. So let's see how it goes. So, Under the Waves, Sharks, episode 1. So why do I love sharks so much? Well, honestly, from as far as I can remember, I've always loved sharks. My mum will probably be able to back me up with that. That as a kid, sharks and dinosaurs were, and crocodiles as well. I think was like my three different things that I liked. I liked reading about, and sharks. Have been a massive part of my life. I always wanted to work with sharks. It's why I went into animals. Sadly, obviously, I didn't pursue that career path. Um, I'd love to go back and do something with it later in life, but never write anything off the table. And yeah, I just think they're just such perfect predators. They're so cool. They've been around since the dinosaurs. Them and crocodiles, they're just about untouched in terms of what you see now is what you used to get back then. Obviously, sizes and a couple of physiological differences along the way, but basically you're seeing exactly the same thing, which I think is really cool in itself. So we'll start off with a little bit of education, obviously. So how many sharks are there? Well, if we include rays in that, there's actually well over 1,000 species of sharks and rays in the ocean. I'm not going to speak on rays too much in this episode, but I'll maybe go into them in a different episode of this. And yeah, so there's over 1,000, big and small. Dangerous and not so dangerous, where you could go from the whale shark, which is the biggest, around about 45 foot, and you could go down as far as your little silver sharks that you get in your fish tanks. So they're just so diverse, and what's unique about them is although they are sharks, there are so many different subspecies of sharks, and what we know now is that, for example, a tiger shark and a blue shark has as much differences as a kangaroo does to a bat. They're so unique in each of their own little way. They're so perfectly evolved to all their own different environments, and that's how they've managed to live for so long, and that is why they're so cool. And not just obviously the actual timeline that they've been around, is their actual lifespan is the Greenland sharks can live up to over 500 years old. The current specimen's been dated at over, I think, 286 years old, which is mind-bogglingly old for any sort of animal or vertebrate on this planet. And sadly, we don't really know, the likes of the great whites, we don't know how long they live for. We know very, very, very little about sharks, even to this day, even though the information and education has grown exponentially in the last 25 years. We're so well behind even understanding the basics of them. We barely know where they go to breed. But then again, the ocean's a big fucking place, so yeah. The big blue. So what kind of cool stuff do sharks have? Why are they so cool as well? So I'm going to talk about 3 different features that sharks have that nothing else has, or nothing has all 3 of these unique abilities. So I'm going to start off with the lateral line of the shark. So the lateral line, if you picture a shark in your head just now, I probably should have done a video one for this podcast, thinking back, and I could have put some cool little pictures and whatnot in. But I just want you to envision a shark in your head, and if you think of a great white and the color difference, that kind of line that runs across it, that's actually called the lateral line. And what that is a little jelly-filled like tube that runs along the side of the shark, and basically what that does is enable the shark to feel, slight vibrations in the movement of the ocean, the current changes, the temperature changes, everything around them, so they can adapt and learn really quickly to any kind of new environment that they find themselves in. And it's also a great hunting tool as well. Um, if you're out in the middle of the ocean, that's why you shouldn't kick around so much. If you were to find yourself right out in the middle of the sea and you're there, you're panicking, the vibrations that you're making in the water are going to be bouncing against the side of the sharks, and that's why they're going to be overall attracted to you. It's actually hitting their lateral line. Uh, which obviously the other cool thing with that is their sense of smell. So why their sense of smell so good? Mind blowing fact for you as well: 100 million times more sensitive than ours. Let that sink in. If it can, I don't think we can even comprehend that. And the reason for this is that obviously sharks are constantly swimming through water, where the majority of them are, and unlike us, we smell down through our throat as well. And sharks, that just doesn't happen. So when the water passes through a shark and enters its nose, the smell is straight into the olfactory bulb of the shark. So that's what makes it so accurate. Um, which is, you probably heard that a shark can smell a drop of blood from up to 2 miles away, and that is actually true. It's mind blowing. One thing that's actually very interesting on that, I'm just going to kind of veer off into my own little tangent here. A really cool study that was done. Study, it was a terrible stunt actually. Was Paul de Gelder, I think it was, that done it. The guy's already lost an arm to a shark attack, a bull shark attack. He used to be a marine in Australia, I believe, and he lost an arm and a leg, I think, to a bull shark. Anyway, for some reason, he went out in the middle of the ocean and proved that sharks aren't actually attracted to human blood. They're actually only attracted to fish blood. So he went out, and maybe some of you have seen it. He opened up a pouch of human blood, his own blood, right next to him. And a load of Caribbean reef sharks kind of got a little bit interested along the way. But when they opened up the fish blood, the sharks went straight for the fish blood and really didn't really bother too much about Paul de Gelder. Luckily for him, he might have lost his other arm and leg, or worse. God, that would be terrible. What about if he'd lost his prosthetics as well? Horrible. Savage. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so sense of smell, also a really cool feature of shark. And the last one, which is the really cool one, is obviously their electromagnetic ability. Now, if you picture a shark's face, I don't know if you'll ever be able to detail this in your imagination, but on a shark's face, they've got these tiny little black dots around their nose, sort of area, around the front of their head. They're called the ampullae lorenzini, and what they are like little jelly-filled pores, sacs almost. And what happens is that when you emit a heartbeat, that electric signal passes through the water, and the shark will be able to accurately then pinpoint you. So the unfortunate situation would be that if you're stranded in the middle of the ocean, unfortunately, the kicking that you're going to be doing when you're panicking and treading water is going to attract the shark from a long distance away due to its lateral line. If you are then hissing, shitting, or bleeding, it's definitely going to find you. And then if you're in a lot of wreckage or anything like that, it's going to be knocking its head around all that, and then it's going to pinpoint exactly where you are, and it's going to get you that way. So that's why they are such cool predators. How scary, aren't they? Yeah, like, I'm not scared of sharks, but I really don't. What's the word that I'm looking for? I totally understand why people are scared of sharks. It's like bears. Bears are fucking scary. Ooh. Jellyfish, they are the worst. They are my biggest animal fear. They freak me the fuck out. Ugh. And I'm not speaking about jellyfish anymore. That brings on anxiety. So dangerous sharks. Speaking of which, we all think they're dangerous, but they are dangerous. Come on, put some respect on their name. So everybody knows obviously the great white shark. That's the big bad boy, and getting up to around about 6 meters, possibly 7 meters in length. Weighing more than a ton. They are absolutely ginormous, huge. They're just so wide as well. Like 7 meters. Yeah, it's obviously huge for a fish, isn't it? It's not overall a massive beast, but the width of it is just sheer power, which is really unsurprising when it's theorized that they eat approximately 11 tons of meat in their entire lifetime. 11 tons of pure protein. Unbelievable. But you're fueling a big fish. I mean, give it that. So great whites. So everybody obviously knows really about great whites because of Jaws and how scary Jaws was. And I mean, I absolutely love Jaws. It is my probably, I'm not going to say my favorite movie of all time. I'd say Jurassic Park's probably my favorite movie of all time. To be fair, dinosaurs kind of take it with that one, don't they? A little bit cooler on the big screen. I've never watched the Megs films either. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't put myself through that. I don't even like Jason Statham that much either. No. Anyway, yeah. So Great White's Jaws. Um. So obviously Jaws was a book, but I don't know if a lot of you will know this anyway. I'll try not to bore you too much. Jaws is actually based off a true story. In 1916 in New Jersey, there was a spate of five shark attacks from July 1st to July 12th, I believe. And they started on one area of the beach where I won't go into the great details of every victim. I'll maybe do a little side story in there. That would be a quite cool one. And yeah, so first fatality July 1st, and I believe there was a second fatality on July 6th. And then what made the story really weird was on July 12th, further north in Matawan Creek, some kids were playing in this little ravine area, and one of them got pulled in by a shark, and then somebody jumped in to save the kids. He then got attacked by the shark, and then I believe another kid got attacked by a shark. So yeah, I think there was 5 people in total died. And what's really weird about the entire thing was that on July 12th, a great white shark was caught, and it had upwards of 15 pounds of human flesh in its body, which would obviously show that the great white shark was caught and the attack stopped, which they did. But how could a great white shark get up fresh water? Obviously, the only known sharks that we know can do that are bull sharks, which is why I think they are actually the deadliest shark species on the planet. Shark attack data is really quite loose at best, and I know I don't want to make sharks out to be worse predators than they can be, but I'm going to take like an area like the Sundarbans in India, for example. That place is riddled with predators, and there's no census taken there anyway. And bull sharks are there in abundance, and we know that they attack several people each year, but it's just never recorded. So bull sharks, yeah, definitely far more dangerous, and the fact of like their global habitual spread, if that's the if that's the word for it. So bull sharks can be found, all the way from the Canary Islands right down to South Africa into the Indian Ocean, across to Thailand, down Australia. Australia has a lot of bull sharks, especially Sydney. Um, Sydney Harbour, I believe, is terrible for bull sharks at certain times of the year. Mexico, Mexico is actually an area I was diving there. I think I seen a bull shark. There was a big shark off in the distance, and it was the time of year it was going nice and slowly, like a big old bull shark does. They're like little buses underneath the water, and they're so super aggressive. That's what makes them so deadly too. They're very territorial. If they don't want you there, they won't give you much of a warning. If you are around a shark and you wonder what a shark warning sign looks like before it attacks you, just look at its pectoral fins, its side fins. They'll veer down to the side, and they'll do this weird little archy back thing. Kind of looks like they're having a little seizure or something with their face as well. That's a get away from me sign from a shark. So you never know. If you listen to this podcast and you find yourself out to sea, maybe that has just saved your life. So bull sharks as well. They're not the biggest. A 6 foot bull shark could do a hell of a lot. Well, 6 foot any sharks could do a hell of a lot of damage to you, but a 6 foot bull shark could do substantial fatal damage to you. I think the biggest ones, I think 12. Yeah, 12 foot's probably where they're gonna peak out. There is reports of them getting up to 14 and 15 foot. That would have to be a very large female for a bull shark to get that big. But anything's possible in the sea. And we do know that the deeper down you go, giganticism does take place, hence the giant squid. And you never know. Bull sharks go down great depths too, so you could get some big ones. And another scary shark, obviously, is the tiger shark, which a lot of people know. And not a lot of people know for the wrong reasons as well, because the only time we ever talk about tiger sharks is when they've mauled somebody, which isn't very common. Obviously, if you listen to my podcast every day, the Jaws of the Red Sea, I talk about the tiger shark that was probably responsible for at least three or four fatalities out there over a 1 year period. Tiger sharks can globally be found just about anywhere as well, which again makes them so dangerous. Warm waters, you're not going to find them off Britain. But yeah, I don't think you get them anywhere around the Mediterranean. I know that they've been sighted off the Canary Islands and obviously Australia, Western Australia for the tiger sharks. I'm not too sure if that's all year round with tiger sharks on Western Australia. I know obviously on Eastern and Southern Australia they're going to be there quite a few. Obviously Northern Australia too. It's warm up there all the time. Um, I just remembered as well thinking about tiger sharks in Australia. I don't know if he will be listening, but if Alan McFarlane's listening, a really funny story about when I first met him was I had him believe for ages that I was a victim of a tiger shark attack when I'd been out on holiday in the summer. Brilliant. The things you do as kids. And one more shark that I don't know if a lot of you would be aware of as being one of the big dangerous ones is the oceanic white tip. Why have I included that one in here? The oceanic white tip. Okay, so another shark that has been reported to be involved in the Red Sea attacks, oceanic white tips. They can only be found. Oh, too loud. Can only be found well out at sea, and well, but it's in Egypt. If you listen to that one, then you'll understand why Egypt is a little bit different for shark attacks and shark sightings and whatnot. Because you can basically go off a couple of meters and then you're in the middle of you literally are in the middle of the ocean. As stupid as it sounds, it just drops off so deep, so you get these deep sea sharks coming right in close to shore, which is why you get the big old tiger sharks coming in too. And makos, they're also quite dangerous, and the oceanic white tips obviously very dangerous. It's a very bold and aggressive shark. Behaviorally, they have to be because they're out in the middle of the ocean. They don't come across food that much. Sadly, they're actually one of the most endangered shark species just now. A lot of people used to say that you could literally go out 20, 25 miles off the shore, anywhere off the coast of Australia, South America, Africa, and within a minute or two, you'll have oceanic white tips up. People go out on expeditions now, and they're out there for 3 or 4 days before they even see one oceanic white tip, which is really, really, really sad. And again, another story about oceanic white tips would be the USS Indianapolis when that went down in, what would that be, 1945, after delivering the bombs to Hiroshima? Or yeah, I think so. And yeah, so a lot of scary stats from that over so many hundred men went into the water and only so many hundred came out, and a large number of them fatalities were due to shark attacks, and they would have been oceanic white tips back then, because there would have been loads of them. And like I say, anything that kind of moves in the water, they are, as I described, for the senses, they are a perfect predator as to so slimline and dynamic that they can use so little energy when they swim. So even though they're out in the middle of the ocean, they're kind of gliding through the currents. They're just so cool. Such beautiful sharks. Highly recommend you go and find a picture of them just now. This isn't porn. Don't get off with sharks, I promise. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Oh, God. Hey, you are frisky. So, sharks in Britain. Um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about sharks in Britain. Do we have sharks in Britain? Of course, we have sharks in Britain. We have loads of sharks in Britain. Do we have any dangerous sharks in Britain, though? Yes, we do have very dangerous sharks in Britain, too. It's just that not a lot of people die from shark attacks. Not a lot of people get attacked by sharks every year. So, and that's why we basically have none in Britain. Although there was last year, wasn't there, that woman off the coast of Devon or Cornwall that got nabbed by the blue shark, although she was out snorkeling with the blue sharks, and then the media made it into a massive story that women mauled by jaws, and even she came out and says that it was literally a graze. Yeah, blue sharks are also really nice sharks. You get them a lot off Britain. Down south, yeah, not so much up here. Maybe get the odd one. I'm not too sure. If there's any fishermen or that listening, maybe you could message. Let me know. You ever see any blue sharks? It'd be pretty cool if they are around here. Basking sharks, obviously, the second biggest shark in the sea. We get them all over around Scotland throughout the summer. Beautiful, big, gentle giants. They're completely harmless, just like the whale sharks. They're plankton filter feeders, so they've got absolutely no interest with you. The only kind of danger that I would be wary about swimming with a basking shark is their tail, but they're so effortless. A couple of lads obviously swam with one recently. They got a beautiful vid of it, and yeah, they're just so majestic, such majestic animals. And obviously, I'd love to swim with one. I've swam with the whale shark, the biggest one before. I believe it was around about 33 feet was the female that we swam with, and she was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, it was a massive bucket list. I'll actually talk about maybe on episode 2 of this, because I kind of want to talk about my experiences with sharks and conservation. Why, yada yada yada. Episode 2. So anyway, of sharks in Britain. So we got the basking shark, hammerheads. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that yet. You get hammerheads down Isle of Wight area, Southern Ireland during the summer, even Cornwall. Smooth hammerhead. So we're not talking about the great hammerheads. Okay, keep in mind, a hammerhead is not just a hammerhead shark. There's loads of different types of hammerhead sharks. Okay, so you got the smooth, the scallop, the bonnet heads, the hammerhead, the great hammerhead. The great hammerhead's always defined by its really big, tall dorsal fin. Yeah, that's how we identify them. And the scalloped hammerhead, slightly brown in color, I believe, slightly browner skin. What else do we get here? So we also get short fin and long fin makos. Not much actually difference apart from the size of their fins. Makos are really cool. They're actually the second fastest fish in the ocean, I believe. They are quite dangerous. They have been named as a potential attacker in the Red Sea attacks. Really do kind of predate on large fish though. But the scary thing about makos is they can get massive too. I can't remember his name now, but there's a really good. Was it Joe Ferrero something like, not Ferrero Rocher. Ferrero Rocher. What the fuck am I on about? Anyway, yeah, like I say, I'm not doing any script with this, so Joe something, Joe Blogs, who cares? Mako sharks. Yeah, so we get Mako sharks in Britain, and he reckons that they can get up over 16 to 18 feet, which is scary given how fast they are too. They're faster than great whites, so one of them coming at you is far scarier. Maybe they did have it right in Deep Blue Sea. They were Mako sharks. Were they Mako sharks? I'm pretty sure they were Mako sharks that they used in Deep Blue Sea. If somebody likes that film, maybe you can drop me a message and let me know. What a terrible movie. Samuel L. Jackson at his absolute best though. How does he always appear in these films? Deep Blue Sea, Jurassic Park, Star Wars as well. He was in Star Wars, wasn't he? He was Mace Windu. Mace Windu. Is it actually true that he begged George Lucas for a part and done it unpaid? He just wanted to be a Jedi, something like that. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about sharks, not Star Wars, eh? Yeah, so big makos would be just as scary as great whites. Which do we get great whites in Britain? Now, I want to focus one of the episodes primarily on that. This is a subject that greatly interests me, because it changes our fishing dynamics slightly if they are found in our waters. Well, no, yes and no, and that's why I want to do a full episode on it. That no, if somebody went out and got a photo of a great white shark tonight, does that prove that there's great whites in Britain? Yeah, that proves that there was a great white in Britain at that time, but that doesn't prove that they're here all the time. They're not a residential species, which is why we'd only ever get the sightings commonly in summer. But obviously, evidence to the fact is obviously what I will include in that video is that there is a photo of a great white in Scotland, actually, which, although you can't see its face, every great white expert in the world was sent this photo and they said, yes, that's a great white shark, no doubt about it. That is definitely a great white shark. But whereabouts is that? And they said Scotland. And then they said, no, that is not a great white shark. It can't be a great white shark if it's in Scotland. So there you go. Take what you want away from that. But we have to remember that we have in Scotland we have is it the high seal population in the entirety of Europe, or there's like a crazy stat like that about our seal population. So we've got perfect prey. Is the water warm enough? Yes, in certain areas of Britain it is. Are we going to get them off the east coast anytime soon? Highly, highly, highly doubt it. Our temperature's slightly colder than that of the west. Down, yeah, pretty much the west. The east coast, maybe to Aberdeen. I think there has been sightings of a great white shark up at Aberdeen at some point. Again, I'll put that into the video. I'll need to go and do a little bit of research before I do that video properly, obviously. So where else could you find sharks that are a little bit dangerous? Mediterranean. We always like our holidays to Spain and Greece, Italy. In fact, Italy, there you go. I'm sure Italy has the largest great white ever caught. There's a little fact off the coast of Sicily for you. So yeah, you get a lot of great white sharks in the Mediterranean. So think about that when you're jumping off your boats in the middle of the ocean, Mum. Remember that time? Remember that time that absolutely horrified me as a child? No wonder I have anxiety issues, mother. There's a story back when we were in Greece, and obviously I love sharks, and I'm not scared of sharks per se, but I definitely don't like the idea of being consumed by a shark. So anyway, we were out on one of these holidays and out in the middle of the Aegean Sea, the Mediterranean, where they start lobbing the bottles of champagne off the side, and everybody jumps off. Well, me and my mum bloody got split up, and it was dead murky water, and yeah, I was like screaming, "Mom, no, 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 the shark's going to get us. If there's a shark here, it has to get us. It has to get us." Because, yes, by the way, if you are out in the ocean, don't separate. Don't separate. Stay nice in a nice little group. That's Sharks don't like that. That's when their electroreception will muck up a little bit because there's so many heartbeats kicking around the place. Sorry, I just noticed the sound waves are dipping in and out a little bit on Audacity in front of me. I'm a little bit worried that I've went into a mumble. And there's a lot of studies going on just now about that great whites are actually the Mediterranean's one of their breeding grounds. We think of the coast of Hawaii. Well, why did I say I'm not a shark scientist, but I know my shit. I know my shit. This is 24. Yeah, we're coming up 25 minutes of rambled on about sharks off the cuff here, which I think is pretty damn impressive. For somebody that's had a struggling week. All right. Anywho, so other sharks that you get in the Mediterranean, you're not going to get your tigers and your bulls in there. You're definitely going to get your makos, oceanic white tips. That's an interesting one. That's something I don't know. Oceanic white tips in the Mediterranean. I wouldn't write it off. Put it that way. So yeah, I'm gonna near my end now because I'm coming up to for half an hour, and I don't really want to do more than half an hour at a time on episodes like these because I don't really want to bore you and turn you off anybody off to subjects like these. So I really enjoyed doing this, and I've really enjoyed talking about a passion which is sharks. And I'm going to follow up with episode 2. And I think in episode 2 we'll talk about other species of sharks that you don't really know, other cool features like that, like how nurse sharks actually use their pectoral fins to crawl along the seabed. But you didn't know that. Sharks that can see in all different kinds of light. And we'll go into some further famous attacks as well, and some what we learn from shark attacks, because unfortunately we learn more from shark attacks than we do from any other kind of field of study. Um, really, to keep us safe. That is, and I'll also talk a little bit about what safety standards are put in place around the world and why they're actually fucking terrible safety standards, especially if you live in Australia. Please fight up the power, but we'll get up to that in episode 2. So yeah, I hope you guys have lasted this long, and if you have, thank you very much for listening. I've been your host Andrew Willox, and this has been the Borderline Podcast. Thank you. Good night.